it takes a learning curve. You have to type in your phone number because you have to do some KYC. You have to do this other process. It's painful.
Yeah.
So we took the challenge on how do we implement the simplest, easiest solution that has two purposes. One, allowing anybody to try Bitcoin. In our machines, you can buy Bitcoin from 5 cents.
Really?
You put
From
in a
5
dollar
cents?
coins, yeah, but you could put in a nickel and it'll work.
We're live here from Bitcoin Beach, and today we have Edgar from K1 Technologies with us. Super excited because Edgar is kind of one of those companies that is leading the way for El Salvador to become kind of a tech hub, not just in the programming side, but the manufacturing side and bringing all those components together. And so I think even before the Bitcoin law, you already had that vision in this space. And I think the Bitcoin law has just opened up a lot of opportunities for you. So tell us a little bit about your history, where the company was when the law came into place, how you guys have pivoted, and then what your vision is for the future.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mike, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. We began in the technology manufacturing industry a few years before the law. We created an ATM here, fully designed and built here in El Salvador. And when you say ATM, this was just a regular ATM, nothing to do with Bitcoin. Just a regular ATM.
Just a fiat ATM.
We offered it to several banks, some financial institutions, saying, we have a lower cost solution that internally uses the same components as the imported devices. But the banks weren't really willing to take risks with a new player. So we basically put it in the closet, literally. It sat there for a few years. So that's why when the Bitcoin law came, we saw an opportunity there to say there's going to be a brand new industry that needs automation, where ATMs are also available. But it's not going to be banks being the gatekeepers to decide, what brand to use. There's going to be a lot more people, a lot more innovation. So the first step was just adding Bitcoin software to our ATM because we had designed and built it. We could just load any software on it. We connected it to Bitcoin, and then things began moving.
So when I talk to like ATM operators, both Bitcoin and regular ATMs, they make it sound like it's way more complicated than that. Like, my question has always been, why can't they add just this ATM or this Bitcoin function to the normal existing ATMs? I know a lot of the Bitcoin ATMs are way behind on adding Lightning. So I see what you guys have done and how easy you guys have made it. Are you guys just that good and these people just miss it? Or why is it that we have this kind of lag in bringing that technology to the people?
No, we're just good. No, just kidding. No, the difference, I think, is that a lot of these big companies are structured in a way that, like, we had that experience even here with a company that wanted to have a Bitcoin ATM solution. The way they worked is that they're how do you call it? They own the software for the ATM. The manufacturer was across the ocean in China. The backend was some other company that they had a business relationship with. So when you have several pieces all over the world, the supply chain is not what it used to be. Things are changing in the world. We're entering a new era in industrial manufacturing, and just the fact that we have here locally, we have local suppliers for the more important component, like the bigger components. The box is manufactured here in El Salvador. The software, we build the software from the ground up. The backend is, part of it is our software. Part of it is local allies that we have here too. So it just allows us to be quicker. And then also the fact that we're a startup, we're a new company, allows us to pivot really quickly. So when we decided to implement Bitcoin software for our ATM, we were able, just get 3 components together, build them up. And then when we created a new product that was designed specifically for Bitcoin, not, just a regular ATM that now happens to have Bitcoin software, but a product that was designed for Bitcoin and designed for Lightning from the get-go, it was easier for us to make the change and to make any updates because we control basically the short supply chain that way. It's not a long supply chain. It's a short supply chain. It's completely controlled by us, and we control the software as well.
That makes sense, but I will say it's still, when I watch, and we'll show people later how easy your guys is to use, I'm still find there's a little disconnect. How come you guys have made it so simple and it's so complex usually? I mean, usually to use a Bitcoin ATM, it's kind of a turnoff for people. They're like, this feels so clunky. They feel unsure if they're going to get their Bitcoin or if they're going to get their money. And so I love how simple you guys have made it. But I'm curious if you think longer term, do you think that regular ATMs and Bitcoin ATMs will be 2 separate categories? Or do you think 5 years from now, they'll kind of merge and we'll have one unit out there? Or maybe we don't have any. I don't know. What do you see going forward?
I think in the future, at least here in El Salvador, where Bitcoin is legal tender, at some point we're going to find an ATM, from your bank, and you're going to go, make a withdrawal. Do you want it in cash or in Bitcoin? I hope that's going to happen sooner than later. And hopefully in other countries too, other countries are right now picking sides, some are picking the winning side, some are picking the losing side, but they're already picking sides. So definitely you'll see it in regular ATMs in the future too. What makes us different, I think, and I appreciate your compliment on our software, is something we have worked on very hard to make it easy to use. But it's the fact that our machines are designed for small transactions is, I think, very beneficial to economies like El Salvador's or most of Latin America, where people will not go to an ATM every week to do a $300 withdrawal, because that's what they make in a month, and you have to take their mortgage and everything else. Their operations are under $10 per day. And that's what our machines are designed for. So that's at least the K1 Mini, which is our most popular machine, works in that category.
I think too, you're kind of just speaking to the rhythms of life in El Salvador, where people do stuff, they buy their food more on a daily basis, where in the US, we're used to going to Costco and you load up for the month. Here, it's pretty normal. You buy what you're going to need for the next day. A lot of times it's just a lack of storage or refrigeration, but also just a lack of money to be able to go make these bulk buys. And so it really is more of a day-to-day purchase. And so I think they treat money the same. When they are going to do something financial, for them, it makes a lot more sense to do in smaller amounts. But a lot of the traditional ATMs, the way they're structured with their fees, it kind of works against them. If they're paying a $2 fee to take $20 out of their ATM, they're paying a much higher price than, somebody like myself that might go and pull $500 out of it and pay that same fee. So I love the fact that you guys are set up to handle those smaller transactions, and that the fees, are a percentage basis instead of a set fee. It really works for those people that, are dealing on a much tighter budget and with smaller amounts. I think rather than belabor what you guys are doing, I think the best thing to do is let's put the ATM up on the table and show people how easy it is. And then we'll kind of talk through the dynamics afterwards.
Okay, definitely.
I'm going to grab my phone here so I can purchase some Bitcoin.
Here it is.
So if I'm coming in, let me just pull my wallet up so I'm ready here. So to show people how easy this is, I mean, I'm still kind of blown away that it's this easy, because it usually when you go to use a Bitcoin ATM, you have to set aside maybe a half an hour or an hour to get through all the confirmations and all of that stuff. and most of them have not adopted Lightning. So I love the fact that you guys, that's the default is Lightning. So I'm going to show people here. You just hit the start button. This is a dollar coin. This is a pretty normal usage in El Salvador. They don't do dollar bills. I think that they couldn't convince people in the US to use these dollar coins, so they shipped them all down to El Salvador.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. So you hardly see dollar bills here, which works perfectly for you guys because it's much easier to do a coin acceptor. So throw my dollar in here. It registered the dollar, hit continue, and then it's ready already. So I just, boom. I mean, how easy is that? I mean, it is so amazing that it just happens that quickly. So
thank you.
I love it. So tell us a little bit more of how you came to this idea to do the small machine, because this is very different than most of the machines that you guys see out there. It's also not what, people probably initially thought. And I think even for you guys, you were thinking having a big full-size ATM from the get-go, and you saw much more demand for that. So give us a little bit of the history on that. Andy, is that in the way? Should we have him pull that off the table there? Or? Okay. So yeah, tell us how you guys went from having the full-size machine to wanting to go with the smaller unit.
Well, the process that we went through is exactly what you just described. When you go to use a Bitcoin ATM, you have to set aside half an hour. You better make a big transaction because it's going to collect a fee. So when the Bitcoin law came, the first thing me and one of my business partners did is go to El Sonte. Go try one of those Bitcoin ATMs people are talking about. We did, and after putting a 20 in the ATM, I sat down next to the machine waiting for it to arrive. I needed to wait for, 2 or 3 confirmations from the network. But that was $20. I sat there for half an hour waiting for it to get there. When I finally got to my phone, it was like $15, which, didn't make me happy, but I understood how the process
was.
worked.
That because of the fees, or the price had moved during that time, or a combination
of
things?
Just the fees.
Yeah.
Mostly just the fees. But my reaction was, this is going to be hard for our people. We are going to be using Bitcoin as legal tender. I think Bitcoin itself is a great technology. It solves many issues. But the learning process for our people is going to be very significant, especially if you're going to be having to make big transactions in an ATM that may be, it takes a learning curve. You have to type in your phone number because you have to do some KYC. You have to do this other process. It's painful.
Yeah.
So we took the challenge and I'm not saying, the ATMs are bad machines or anything. No, I think the market would have cut them off if they were bad solutions.
Yeah.
I think they're good solutions for the market they were designed for. They're good solutions for people in the States that are used to doing, several $100s worth of transactions. They're good solutions for people in Asia, in Europe. But for somebody in El Salvador, as you described, we work mostly in coins. As a kid, I would help my grandma. She had a little, community grocery store, and the transactions were most of the time in coins. So that's where our thoughts went to on how do we implement the simplest, easiest solution that has 2 purposes. One, allowing anybody to try Bitcoin. In our machines, you can buy Bitcoin from 5 cents.
Really?
You put in a dollar coins, yeah, but you could put in a nickel and it'll work. But then,
then that's like, there's such low risk there for the people, because I've watched people make their first transaction, and even if it's $40, which might not seem like a lot to them, that could be a few days' wages, and so they're sitting there and nothing happens, and they're waiting and waiting and waiting. You can see them start to get worried. So I think just from the user experience, this is so much greater. I mean, you see the people just get excited, oh, wow, it happened like that. So I think we can't overstate just the importance of that kind of emotional component that goes with it, because that's very important when you're dealing with money.
Definitely. The fact that it has such low risk, anybody will be willing to risk a nickel or a dime if it's your first time using Bitcoin. Also, you just mentioned the fact that it happens in a couple seconds over the Lightning Network puts your thoughts.
You don't have that period of like, is it going to settle? Is it, especially, there's been lots of stories of people who have had technical issues and it's taken them weeks to get their Bitcoin. And so when people already have that in mind, and even if it's transacting as it should, that half hour of them waiting for that to settle can be unnerving.
A half hour, like my first time or my second time, when I went to try a new ATM that they had set up at a mall here in El Salvador, I put in another 20. I wanted to see it's a different brand, different experience. And I left and it hadn't arrived and my family was making fun of me. The ATM got you. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I got a notification that the transaction had gone through. Thank God for me, that wasn't going to, I didn't go to bed without having a meal. But for somebody, not having that cash available for some time could be, a significant difference. So those are the things that in our context, we wanted to find a way to provide a solution we wanted to provide a solution for needs we knew we had that were not there when the first Bitcoin ATMs were designed. So they solved their side of the equation, but it was up to us in El Salvador to create a solution for our side of the equation. And the good thing is that we have found some resonance, not only in Latin America or only in El Salvador, but we now have positioned our machines, our coin machines, in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and countries in Europe. And now that we're creating a new solution that also incorporates a bill acceptor, that one is also getting a lot of interest. So it was not a need only in El Salvador. We found a niche market.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not even really direct competition with the full-size ATMs. It's really a different market. These obviously don't have the level of security that the big machines have. You're not going to leave these out overnight. These are something that's going to be on the store counter of a store that, the store owner at least can visually, keep tabs on it.
Exactly. We're usually, we fit within the Bitcoin ATM category, but it's more a Bitcoin vending machine if you think about it, because you put in a quarter, you get a quarter worth of Bitcoin. It's more a vending machine.
No, I like that analogy there. I think we have some slides here so we can kind of walk through those. So this is the design of the machine as we saw here. It's super slick, clean, straightforward in what people need to do. It's hit this, put your money in, confirm, and that's it.
We actually designed the size of the box just to be able to fit a bill acceptor internally. Even though at the beginning it only had a coin slot, as you see there, but it's just as big as it needs to be to have a bill acceptor, a coin acceptor, and still be somewhat symmetrical. That's all we went for.
I love how straightforward it is, because that's the other thing. So on some of the ATMs I've found, sometimes you don't know, wait, am I supposed to do something? It's not as intuitive. So I love how intuitive this is. It just works.
Thank you. So this is part of what we were talking about. Right now we have a global population of around 8 billion people, but how many of those are in the developing world where we have different needs? The technology solutions right now are being created in the developed world, thinking about the developed world. We are in El Salvador thinking about solutions that work for us, but we have found that it works for the great majority of people too.
Yeah, I think Americans, a lot of times, we just assume that everybody has access to credit cards and debit cards and these financial tools that, most of us have grown up with and had all our lives. But the reality is, in most of the world, it's very difficult for the majority of the population to access those things. It's really for the, more of the elite, the upper middle class to elite in a lot of these societies. So you have huge swaths of people that don't have access. So for them, Bitcoin is this solution, but how do they get that? How are they able to enter that system? They still it still has that kind of hurdle for them if they don't have a bank account that they can, connect to Binance or one of the other companies out there. They have to have a way to be able to purchase it in cash. And in most countries, that's very difficult. So I love this solution. They can start with $1 worth of sats. I think one thing I'm super excited about seeing is with the rollout of the Bolt cards that are out there. I think the design specifically of the one that Fernando from Praya Bitcoin and working together with Tianki here in El Salvador, the way they're designing it, they can just recharge from a QR code that's printed on the card. And so you were explaining, you guys just have to make a couple tweaks, and it'll be super easy for somebody to throw $1 in the machine, hold their card up with that QR code, and recharge their Sats card.
Yeah, exactly. Even for all of our machines that are already deployed on the field, we don't need to make any changes there. We only need to make a change on the server side. And when the machine reads the QR from the card, it'll know where to send the sats.
I mean, I can see that be so amazing. Kids, they get their couple dollar allowance or whatever it is. They take their sat card down to the local store and they throw their dollar coins in, are able to recharge their card. And then they feel like, hey, I have this financial tool now that before it was really only the elite that had access to this. Now they have, even if they don't have a cell phone, they can still pay for things in sats.
That's true. And that's one of the great things about Bitcoin. And one of the things we are incorporating in this chart. When you say, when you see that 83% of people don't use debit or credit cards, we are including younger people there too, because they don't use them.
But a lot of times they can't, because even in, more developing countries, you have to be a certain age to even have access to a lot of those things. So this opens it up. A 5-year-old can tap their card and buy something. So I love how it just opens that whole market.
Exactly. That's a market that we believe we are helping kids and young people as well develop this sense of, it's just financial education. I'm going to save, I'm going to invest, I'm going to do with my money what I want to do.
And I think that's so important, because we teach kids all these other things, but we don't teach them these financial skills. And a lot of times they've developed their habits by the time they're 18, and they're not good habits. So if we can catch them early, I mean, what a great thing for the society. So I love that. So
here's a slide about our K1 Mini, which is the name of this particular device. One of the, as we like to say, it's designed and built in the developing world for the developing world. You described previously how Americans sometimes don't get, just a different situation that's going on around the world, and that's natural. As it would be, as asking somebody who's a native English speaker to compose a poem in Spanish. You wouldn't be able to do it because you haven't been exposed to that. So it's actually up to us to create a solution that fits the needs that we have here, and I think that's something that we've been maybe lacking. Just believing that we don't have to wait for the solution to come. Maybe somebody in the States is going to create a solution that's going to work in El Salvador. It's going to be hard for somebody to do that. But for somebody in El Salvador to build something that works in El Salvador, that would be the natural solution.
I think even like you were explaining, the banks here were reluctant to buy from a newcomer. They felt better buying from a company in Europe or somewhere else. That whole thing is just backwards, because even the way regular ATMs work here, a lot of times they're not designed the way local people would use them. And so I love the fact that this for Bitcoin ATMs is being driven by this local market. And I really see this helping put El Salvador on the map as a technology and manufacturing destination where people from the developing world are coming for machines that actually work for the context of their own country, not for Europe or the US. And that's a much bigger market than the developed world.
Yes, definitely. It's a bigger market, and our goal has always been to make El Salvador a technology hub, where we can have new solutions being built for our markets, like our Bitcoin ATMs or vending machines right now, downwards to, our automated locker systems that we want to use for entrepreneurs to drop their their bracelets, their shoes that they're selling, and then somebody else to come pick them up in a in a safe manner, down to the pupusa making machine we want to make in the future.
And I love the fact that you guys kind of had that vision from the beginning. I mean, this was a dream of yours even before Bitcoin law came into place, and you were able to take something, repurpose it, and kind of push forward with that. And now with the new tax incentives they've been passing in El Salvador, specifically for tech companies, I feel like we're at the beginning stages of just a wave of companies moving and setting up operations here. So you guys are kind of at the forefront of that.
Yes, I feel the same way. It's just the beginning right now. In El Salvador, when we began building ATMs, in a developed economy, we would probably have gone to somebody else who was building ATM, poach a couple of their employees, and we're going to build it a little bit differently now. But just the fact that there's nobody building technology in El Salvador forced us to think everything from the ground up. Gave us an advantage initially, because we were able to create a solution that doesn't have the same reliance on traditional interface or whatever you want to call it, but create a new solution. But now we are also supportive of new companies, or I like to believe we are opening the way for new companies to come and build other products that may be related to Bitcoin as well, or might not be related to Bitcoin, but new technology products being built in El Salvador and sent all over the world.
I see. I think we have your team there. Are they all Salvadoran, or are they distributed throughout the world, or what's
No, we're all based here in El Salvador. Right now, I'm the only one that is full-time working in K1, but they are a great team, and we have weekly calls, and we are always trying to find ways, new clients, new solutions to implement. So Edwin, Daniel, and Alvaro, we were just friends before, but they all bring their expertise to the company, and we are growing together.
Well, I think you mentioned, I hope it's okay for me to say it on air, but that you guys have put together some funding that's going to help you guys take it to the next level. You've done your first round, getting ready to close it. And so I think it's exciting to see how that's going to thrust you guys forward. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the Bitcoin space that when you guys are ready to do your next round will be super interested in participating. So you have to keep us up to date when people can come and invest in you guys.
Definitely. Thank you. And with the passing of the new law that you just mentioned, it's going to make it easier to invest in technology companies here in El Salvador, or even start your own. And that is one of the things that's improving the situation for us. Just this new law allows us to get investment, and for that investment to be directed, fully towards innovation, which is what we want to do, instead of us having to invest or to diverge those funds to taxation and other things. That's no longer the case. So it will propel us forward, definitely.
And they're streamlining the red tape and all of those things to really make it a business-friendly environment.
Yes, definitely. So our goal is to have in El Salvador, what Japan was in the 60s, the 70s, a technology hub. Maybe we don't have the population or the history, but at some point, neither did they, and exactly. We're starting.
So I think this is a map of where you have some of your machines, but I think you guys need to update it. I think after the conference, you have machines in a lot of other locations. So
yeah, just last month, we added 2 new countries. So New Zealand is now on the map for us. So, and also the Dominican. We're in the Caribbean now as well. And we added a few states in the US as well.
And within the
I'm sorry, and also Canada. Thank you, Mike.
The 51st state. Are you able to change the language depending on the country that it's at? So it's pretty easy without much issues for the operator. That just can automatically happen.
Yeah, right now with one tap, you can switch it between Spanish and English, but we'll be adding more languages. So we need to add Deutsch. We have to add German pretty soon, and then we'll continue to add more languages.
No, I love too that you also have the ability to have a little video or advertisement as part of that thing. And so that's another way for the store owners to generate a little revenue.
Yes, our goal is to make it as profitable as possible for the store owner. So in this slide, you can see our business model. We like to describe it as it's the Bitcoin candy machine. If you operate a gumball machine or a vending machine, you load it with gum, you load it with candy, and then at the end of the day, you take the cash out, and part of it is your profit, and part of it you use it to buy more candy. With our machines, the operator would load it with Bitcoin, or they would connect it to their Bitcoin wallet. At the end of the day, they would take the cash out, buy more Bitcoin, and then keep some profit. But because the machine is connected to the internet, it has a video screen, it has speakers, you can do more things with it. You can play ads at the end of each transaction. Another thing we have discovered, and it was unexpected, but it's a great thing, the machine brings a lot of interest to your store, to your Airbnb, to your coffee shop. We have had cases where a client sets one up in a coffee shop. After a week, they get a news cruise saying, "Oh, we have the first Bitcoin ATM in our city, la la la," and then it becomes a hub for the Bitcoin community in that city, and it brings a lot of traffic and interest to their business. So we want to bring as many ways to become profitable as possible.
I know when we set the first ATM up here in El Zonte, it was a Athena ATM that they brought in, a full-size one, and it was put in a coffee shop. And we had people driving from hours away to come to this location. So it wasn't, the store owner benefited not just from, I think they were paying them a little bit of rent at that time. The store owner didn't own it, but it was driving all this traffic to them. Obviously, with a big ATM, it takes up a lot of space, and there's a lot of other downsides. With what you guys are doing, this is something very easy to put on the countertop. And so people will drive an extra 5 or 10 minutes easily to be able to come buy Bitcoin and then pick up a coffee or whatever. If they have to buy groceries, anyways, they're going to buy from that location. So it really is something that helps drive revenue, not just from the percentage, fees that they're making on the selling of Bitcoin, but by making their location a destination.
Exactly. It would put them on the map. So you can add them to the list of places you need to go. And we have also had times when, people come with a bag of cash to the store, to the coffee shop and say, "Okay, I brought all my coins. I want to get Bitcoin." And people will come just for that. But also, sometimes it's just, I just want to try it. So here's a quarter.
No, I love that. So these machines are very reasonably priced. I mean, I was expecting it to be several $1,000s, but you guys have pushed the cost down. I think initially they were a little bit more expensive, but you guys have streamlined things. Obviously, now that you're doing more units, you can buy at better pricing, and you've gotten them under $1,000, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was one of our goals, to get them under 1,000. So our coin-only unit is now $999. And the new one that we're launching that has a coin acceptor and also a bill acceptor that can take ones, fives, tens, and 20s up to $300, up to 300 bills, is $1699.
So which of those units do you think is going to be more popular? Have you gotten a sense from the market yet on which one people are gravitating towards? I know the bill acceptor is newer, so I don't know if you've really tested the market fully yet, but...
Well, on the first launch that we did, the coin unit was very popular, but the bill unit was 3 times as popular.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's nice for people to have the option to buy either way, especially, in the US where you don't really have dollar coins, and it would only be quarters that you could put into that.
Exactly. No, we did a study here in Latin America. Some countries work well with a coin acceptor, like Mexico has a 5 peso coin and a 10 peso coin, which have some worth. Colombia, Brazil. But there are some other countries like Argentina where, unfortunately, the coin has been devaluated so much because
I don't know. You may need to get one that lets them put 100 bills in at a time, because the way the currency is going in Argentina, even with their when we were there, it was like 6 months ago for the LeBitConf, we went out to dinner one night, and I mean, I had to bring a stack of bills like this just to pay the dinner bill.
I know. No, even for our neighbors. I don't know. The dollar has been a blessing and a curse for El Salvador. Our neighbors, like Guatemala and Honduras, their coins don't really work with our machines because they are worth so little. Here, having the dollar allows us to have some purchasing power in the coin, but then at the same time, we're subject to whatever economic, policy decision the U.S. makes. So it won't work everywhere, but the bill acceptor will bring us to more markets.
Have you found, as far as the screen, are stores trying to get some of their suppliers to pay them revenue for that? Or are they mostly just advertising on that? Like, hey, buy this today and you get one free, or how have they been using that screen so far?
So right now we have some advertising partners that we're working with just to advertise on all of our screens. We're still in the very early stages of that. We continue to try to, so the way it will most likely work in the future is that we'll just connect to an advertising network that will offer ads according to what the store selects. So if you're a coffee shop, you don't want to see an advertisement for the coffee shop down the street, but you might be open to advertisements from a grocery store or some other company. So you'll be able to subscribe to the ads you want to see on your screen, because at the end of the day, it's your device. It's not owned by us. We are not operators right now. We are not operating any machines. We just sell them. We manufacture. So the owner of the machine gets to pick the ads they want, and we are looking for a partnership where we can have access to a network of advertisers that would like to appear on all of our screens.
So Bitcoin companies out there, you can be the ones that pop up on their screen every time.
Definitely.
Think of the different wallets that are out there, or other Bitcoin related companies. That would be a perfect way. You're only advertising to Bitcoiners. So
you said it, because when you advertise on our machines, you're advertising to people who are buying Bitcoin, not to everyone on YouTube or everyone on some other media, which they have their uses, but our machines give you a filtered public where it's only the people who are buying Bitcoin.
So if there's companies out there that want to put together a deal, they just contact you?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Send an email, send us a DM on Twitter, and we'll be there.
And we'll put that all up at the end there. So you guys charge a 1% support fee on the transactions, and then they set the fee that they want to charge, so that they can charge 5%, which would mean they would net 4%, or 10%, they would net 9%. Is that basically how it works?
Exactly. That's how it works. We have an optional 1% support fee that will give you access to software updates. You get access to our dashboard, to the full advertising platform, and then you get priority support with us. But then, some people want to have that, and they pay us 1% of their total transaction amount. Some people decide, I'll just YOLO it. I'll do it by myself, and I don't want any support, or just email support, which is the basic offering that we have. And they take the whole fee for themselves.
And they just connect to whatever wallet they want, or how does that work? Because that's what I've always heard from the ATM operators, that it's complicated trying to do Lightning transactions and balance our channels and all of that. Is that the way you guys have it set up? Is that all offloaded on somebody else, or talk to me like a 10-year-old, because that's my level of technical skills. So
no, that's all right. So for the operator, we have two options, because the machine will be connected to your wallet and selling your sats. Basically, you can have Bitcoin Beach wallet, now Blink, and the machine will connect to it. Or the other option we have right now is you can have OpenNode. If you have an OpenNode account and you want to connect that to the machine, you can do it too. Our goal is by the end of the year to also have the option to connect to if you already operate your own node. Let's say you want to run 20 machines or 50 machines or more, it might make more sense to connect it to your own node. And because we're getting inquiries from people who want to run multiple ones, we'll be adding that. But right now, if you have Bitcoin Beach wallet, it takes, I want to say 5 minutes to connect the machine to your wallet, and then you're all set.
And as you're talking, I'm just kind of thinking through the logistics of it. I guess the operator also could they just, if they were using the Bitcoin or the Blink wallet, could they have their money held in stable sats at that time to feed, or would that work where they wouldn't have any volatility risk to worry about? I mean, for myself, I always want to hold in Bitcoin. So, but I know for a lot of people that is a concern, and that might, especially if they're a small store owner, they're thinking, hey, I could lose more than I'm making in fees if Bitcoin goes down. So they could actually hold in stable sats denominated in dollars. Or am I getting that wrong?
No, definitely. Yes. For some, like if you're running it as a business, you want to know how much you're going to be making at the end. Even it might be more, it might be less, but if it's a business, you want to know that amount. You can hold it in stable sats. We are already running a trial with one of our operators doing it that way. And then we'll be deploying that option to the rest of our operators too.
Do you think, like, who do you see as your primary buyers? Is this going to be more kind of people that own their own little store and want to buy one? Or do you think it's going to be operators that come in and buy 100 and they're the ones that are running them, throughout the region? What are you thinking is going to be the business model there?
No, we would really love it to have, chains of stores that have thousands of locations. That would be great. Right now, we have 3 groups of customers. Most of our customers fit within 3 groups. One is people who run Bitcoin meetups or Bitcoin events, and they want to have a quick attention grabber that allows anybody coming for the first time to buy sats in 5 seconds.
Because they could just bring it with them and hook it up to their cell phone as far as...
Exactly.
Okay.
Like I just brought it here.
Yeah. You brought it in your backpack. I was like, hey, I thought you were going to bring the machine. You're like,
it's right
no,
here.
It's in my backpack.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I have gone through the airport with a machine in my backpack and another one in my carry-on, and it's really easy. So that's one of them. You can bring it anywhere to a meetup. The other group of customers that we have is Bitcoin-themed restaurants and coffee shops that want to draw people in to their establishment and become a hub where Bitcoiners socialize. That's another of our markets. And then the last one, which I think is also very important, is the education market. We have people who are running education events, and they want to bring it, not only teach people about the beauty of Bitcoin in a theoretical way, but also put it to use. Put a quarter in there, forget about that, and now you own sats. And you can send it, and you can send it, and you can receive. And the K1 Mini is a great solution for that too, because it lowers the learning curve.
Do you guys have one at Bitcoin Embassy in Mexico City yet?
Not yet, but if you connect us, maybe
okay.
we will.
Lorena, you gotta get on board here and get one of these in there. I could see. I mean, that's a perfect location. You're attracting all these Bitcoiners, and they have, when we went there, they had a full size machine, but same thing, kind of a little bit cumbersome. So it would be sweet to see, one of these units there, especially as people are just passing by and maybe they don't want to make a big purchase, but they can just do a little test.
Yeah, and even if you already have a Bitcoin ATM, we feel a different niche. Like if somebody wants to withdraw cash, that's not possible from our machine. You need a big ATM for that. If somebody wants to buy, 1,000 pesos or $100 worth of Bitcoin, it would probably be better to do it at one of the big machines. But if you want to gain access to the other market, to the children, to the youth, to the people who are learning about Bitcoin for the first time, you can have one of our machines next to an existing ATM, and it'll help bridge that gap.
I could see too, you guys having these things in airports around the world, because when people leave, I mean, I know I always got all this change in my pocket, and I get home, and the other day I was cleaning out my drawer. I think I had like Mexican pesos, and I had some Peruvian soles and all these, and I'm like, what do I do with this? But if you had it in the airport, when people are leaving, they can just, top up their Bitcoin wallet. That would be
yes, definitely
amazing opportunity.
Turn your change into money you can use anywhere in the world.
Definitely. So what do we got next? Oh, so that was the educator thing. So this is your guys' page where people can get a hold of you.
Yes, so you can reach us.
What's better for you, Twitter or email, or what's the best way for people to contact
We're most
you?
active on Twitter, but also email or WhatsApp to the number that's listed there. That also works. Facebook as well. I mean, we're easy to contact. If you want to see our website, it's just k1.sv. Easy to remember. And yeah.
So I know I reached out to you before asking, hey, what about Bitcoin vending machines? I would love to see, through El Zonte here, but pretty much everywhere in El Salvador, it'd be so convenient for people to be able to purchase with Bitcoin. One of the drawbacks of vending machines, a lot of locations, is the security risk. If people know there's a bunch of cash in it, they could try to break in. Although with the way things are going here in El Salvador, that's less and less of an issue. It's still always going to be a concern. So if you have a Bitcoin only machine, you don't have to worry about that. You also don't ever have to go pick up and handle the cash. I actually was in the vending business for a number of years, and people don't realize how cumbersome that is, just actually going and collecting the funds. And, especially if you're dealing with coins, you got to roll them and take them to the bank, and the bank wants to charge you a bunch of money for that. And it's a huge headache. So if you had vending machines that were set up just to accept Bitcoin, I think that'd be great. So why don't we see that yet? What's the holdup?
No, that is definitely in our roadmap. Bitcoin vending machines and cash also vending machines. I think automation is one of the keys to the development of our country. Sometimes people are scared of automation because they say it's going to take jobs away. But then you have Salvadorians wanting to go to the US and to Europe where everything's automated, because the truth is that automation makes people richer because you're more productive. You don't even need to be at the desk working, or at the store just for it to be producing. And we want to build those machines using Bitcoin, using cash, credit cards, and all the means of pay. But we want Bitcoin to become this circular economy where you can put cash in, then you can go and spend it. So yes, it is an operator.
So Andy, put that picture up there that I sent you earlier. I have a warehouse full of there are these foot massage machines that we used to have at the San Diego Zoo that you put a quarter in, and they actually give you quite the nice foot massage. So I've got, I think, 30 of them sitting in my warehouse that I would love to haul down here to El Salvador, but only if I could make them Bitcoin only, because I don't want to deal with the coin collectors or having to go collect or any of that. How easy would it be for a company like yours to retrofit, an existing unit like that? Is it going to be super complicated, or is it something that's really not that hard?
Well, the first step would be to set one up in my office. Then I'm sure we can work on it after we're done having fun with it. No, this is a great user case for Bitcoin, because as you described, there's a lot of work in going to the machine to pick up the cash and handle it later. But the machine is not providing a product. It's providing a service. That means that if it was Bitcoin operated,
you don't have to do anything.
Exactly. It becomes
service the parts once a year and
completely passive income. And that sounds like a good project, actually. If you find vending machines that are giving the users a product, it becomes much easier. If you have a soda machine and it's connected to Bitcoin, it's great. You have less of a hassle, but you still need to load it up with sodas.
Yeah.
But something like this, set and forget. You'll see the sats pouring into your wallet.
So if there's any companies out there that are in the vending space but need somebody to put this component to them, I think K1's the company for you. I'd love to see that. And I think we're going to see tons of innovation like that coming out of El Salvador.
Thank you. That's what we expect. We continue to educate not only in the Bitcoin space, but also in the technology space. We had a robotics fair today at one of our schools that we support here in La Libertad in Zaragoza, in the La Libertad department. Mm-hmm. And we want to see technology coming out of El Salvador.
What would you tell people that are concerned about bringing their business to El Salvador? How would you explain the business environment here? I think people get tired of me talking about how amazing it is, but you obviously were born here. You're born here, right?
Yes.
You're born here. You were trying to start a business, long before things started getting much easier. So what are the changes that you've seen, and how would you explain the business environment here?
One of the main drawbacks was definitely violence. Violence is gone. It's for New Year's, I took my family to a cabin up in the volcano, on the volcano.
It's cold, huh?
It was cold. It was so nice. You could see the whole city. And you could see all the fireworks. And
I gotta interrupt one second with a story. So the one it was probably 5 years ago. It was during Semana Santa. It was sweltering hot on the beach, and I was just done with the heat. And so I told my wife, "All right, we're getting a cabin up on the volcano, Boca Raton." And I told her, "Hey, bring jacket and warm clothes because it's cold." So we're driving there, and we're like halfway there. And I said, "Hey, you packed the warm clothes, right?" And she's like, "No, you were joking." I'm like, "No, it is cold there." She's like, "No way." We absolutely froze. I think we had my kids both hopped into bed with us, and I was the only one who brought a sweatshirt. So of course my daughter had it the whole time. So if people are coming to El Salvador, definitely go to the volcano, but dress warmly. So
yes.
Sorry for interrupting you, but that just brought back those memories.
No, that's all right. And El Boquerón is a really, really cool place. One of the highest points the highest point in the San Salvador area. And when we were there for New Year's at midnight, looking at the fireworks, I told my wife, "You know what? 1 year ago, I would have never brought our family here, because of the violence. But now, I didn't even think about the violence when bringing my family out to the middle of the woods at night. So violence is gone. That was one of the drawbacks for starting your business here. You see tons of little businesses popping up. And regarding the legislation, it's becoming much better. So there are now, for example, a website where you can go, and most of the transactions you need to do for like enrolling your business,
like getting your business license or
exactly.
tax numbers,
most of them are easier to do now. Because of the influx of foreigners coming here, there are law firms and accounting firms that are now working in English too, just to make it easier for new business owners to set up shop. There's still ways to go. I'm not saying it's really easy. It's just it still takes some work, but we are moving, I believe, in the right direction into making it easier to do business in El Salvador.
And do you see El Salvador kind of accruing the critical mass needed for companies to locate here? I know a lot of times, companies will locate in places like Silicon Valley because you have all these kind of support companies there. It's easy to get, whether it's the talent that you need or the supplies you need. Obviously, we have a long way to go here in El Salvador, but are you starting to see that come together?
I see it coming together. Yes. As I said, I've been a software developer for a while now. I began when I was 13 years old because my father set up a business to teach people about computers, because at that time they weren't as prevalent, but they were already, obviously going to take over. Right now, Bitcoin might not be as prevalent, but as the internet was once only for the elite, and now everybody carries the internet in their pocket, Bitcoin is going to be like that. And we're at a stage where the early adopters and the people who are getting thrown into it are going to have an advantage later on. Right now in El Salvador, you could say we only have a 5 to 10% of adoption in businesses, but that puts us miles ahead of anywhere else
in the world has that high.
Nowhere. Same with people. We have how many people in El Salvador use Bitcoin on a daily basis? Oh, only 10%. That's the highest adoption rate that I've heard of. And with developers as well. We have developers working for foreign companies. Like part of my job when I was a developer and I was a leader of the development team for one of the call centers here in El Salvador. And we would develop solutions for companies in the States and in other countries. We have developers, we have people that are good English speakers as well. So I think we have a fertile ground. We don't have the garden yet, but we have the fertile ground and we have the seeds being thrown all over the place. So it'll definitely grow.
No, that's what I sense. Just an excitement and energy of people feeling like the future has so much potential. And, you guys are at the forefront of that, leading the way. Anything else that you want to leave people with that we didn't touch about your company or El Salvador in general, or other promising projects that you want to tell people about before we wrap up?
Well, one thing I believe is that El Salvador is able to create these solutions because of the people that we have here. And that's something we don't have to forget. In the past, the violence, the lack of employment, the lack of opportunities would drive the people to go out of El Salvador, to leave El Salvador. And El Salvador was losing its wealth, which was not in the money, but it was in the people. The people who were willing and able to work would have to leave El Salvador. Now we have people who want to come back to El Salvador. We have foreigners like yourself that have now become Salvadoran in heart. I don't know if in passport yet.
One more year. I got one more year before I can apply.
But your heart is more Salvadorian than many I know. And as we continue to grow in opportunities, in education, it'll be having a multiplying effect that I'm looking forward to an exponential curve. I believe K1, and so far nobody has proven me wrong, is the first Salvadorian company to export technology devices to the US and to any other country in the world. Right now we're in 11 countries. And I look forward to being the first and then seeing a second company and a third company and a fourth company pop up doing the same thing, exporting technology from El Salvador, creating a revolution that allows us to make our people more efficient, to make our people wealthier, to be able to have education that satisfies their needs and the needs of their children. And so just looking forward to that. And anybody who is interested in seeing something like that happening in El Salvador, let us know. If you're building a new product and you want, sit down for an hour, talk about it, tell you what hurdles we already went through that might be helpful for you, that's great. If you want to start a new company, if you want to work with us, or maybe work besides us, just not against us, feel free to reach out. Our goal is to see El Salvador grow and move forward.
And just to clarify, for those machines, they can be bought worldwide. You guys can ship to anywhere, and that's not an issue.
Yes, we ship worldwide. Our coin machine is able to work with almost every currency in the world. Any coins that are under 30 millimeters in diameter work. So that's almost every country. And our bill machines, we're launching only with USD initially, but we'll be adding more countries and more denominations very soon.
Perfect. Well, I think I'm going to have to place an order for a machine for the Bitcoin Island project. Have you been out there yet?
In Piraya?
Yeah.
I've been following it, but I haven't been there yet.
Well, I'm gonna commit to an order right here. As long as I can pay in Bitcoin.
Of course.
Okay. So we'll get one of those ATMs out on the island there, and yeah, super excited to follow your guys' progress. And I think you're inspiration to a lot of entrepreneurs here. And so keep on doing it and leading the way. And we'll have to have you back on in 6 months and get some updates.
Definitely. It'll be a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.